makes no sense to negotiate with a country which doesn't keep its promises.
I think a lot of the world is looking at Ukraine for its moral anchor, because precisely what has happened is what you just said, that there's a lot of cynicism and geopolitics in the international community about how they treat the entire Western Balkans with a Belgrade-focused policy, as you said. And what I want to do for a second with you is be a bit futuristic and test that cynicism. Can you imagine in 20 years' time, after the war would end in Ukraine, can you imagine being on twist to negotiate and make peace with Russia by international community? That international community 20 years on tells you, make peace with some successor of Putin, a spokesperson, because for us, Vučić was a spokesperson of Milosevic. When I was refugee in 98, 99, and we had to flee with my family, Vučić was on TV arguing why we have to be expelled. Can you imagine your war in 20 years' time, that Margarita Simonyan, who is a spokesperson for Putin, is somebody you have to make peace, and they ask you for concessions to Russia?
Well, everything can happen in politics. We cannot rule out anything. But to me, the thing is that for Ukrainians, this war is a matter of life and death, of our survival. If we agree to any concessions, for example, territorial concessions, it will not only undermine the whole international law and security system in the world, it will create dangerous precedents to follow for other dictators. But the thing is that in the occupied territories, Russia is continuing genocidal policy. There is nothing Ukrainian left. So if we agree to any kind of compromise, we will stop exist as a nation. We'll be just exterminated. That's why we have no choice.
In retrospect, you were pushed by international community to concede a lot in Minsk Accords. What do you say to that attitude that international community had towards you, Ukrainians, when Minsk was signed after 2014 war?
Yes. Actually, I was a deputy head of the Ukrainian delegation to the Trilateral Contact Group. I was involved in the process of negotiations.
So what are the lessons learned from you, Mr. Merezhko, to Kosovans in negotiating with Serbia? What is your lesson, and do you regret doing something? What can we learn?
It makes no sense to negotiate with a country which doesn't keep its promises.
But you did. You nevertheless did.
Yeah, but yes, we tried to reach a compromise, because we're peace-loving people. We tried our best to reach a compromise, but it didn't work.
Okay, but are you saying you almost played the game to prove to international community that you are not the bad guys, and it's important to, in international law, play the game and try it out?
Yes, absolutely. To play by the rules established by international law, to respect principles of international law, non-use of force, for example, one of such principles, non-interference in internal matters, and so on. But the thing is that we are for peace, but we're against appeasement of the aggressor. And I hope that we will not repeat the mistake which was already done in the 20th century. I mean, Munich, 1938. Appeasement of the aggressor never works. Never works.
It's precisely appeasement is the word that most neighbors of Serbia today, Bosnians, Kosovars, feel that what the West is doing with Vučić is appeasing. Can you explain why? I've asked international diplomats why they do this. They say we're not appeasing, we are treating everybody fairly. So they are in denial. Can you, having tried it in your skin as Ukrainians, explain to us how come people like Vučić, which for us is the Putin of the Balkans, get away with murder? How do they do it?
Well, it's hard to explain. Maybe some politicians in the West still have some illusions. But illusions are a very dangerous thing. because they distort reality. They prevent you from thinking clearly and to acting in response to any kinds of provocations. I think that the psychology of invaders and aggressors is very primitive. They make provocation and they see what happens. If there is no reaction, if there is no response from the position of strength, they go further until they are stopped. And it's better to stop the potential aggressors on time, to prevent in the future more problems. And this is exactly what the Western democratic countries should do with any potential or actual aggressor.
I'm just interested, in 2014, when you were part of that delegation, when you were being pushed to compromise, were you upset with the West? How did you control yourself, like, to be in a position where you were seeing the West taking gas from Putin, doing business as usual? Did that make Ukraine smarter? How did you keep your cool to continue?
Yeah, I joined the delegation in the year 2019. So the negotiations had been already proceeding for 5 years before me. But of course, we were disappointed because, you know, the thing is that we were under impression after signing the Budapest Memorandum and after giving up our nuclear arsenal, we were under impression that we did this in exchange of firm guarantees. But then all of a sudden we realized that these guarantees don't work.